This is CHSR 97.9 FM here in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. And this is Python's Paradise, your film and music show. And this is your host, Greg Gilbert, a.k.a. the Python Hyena. And folks, today Grease is the word. Yes, I was 6 years old when that movie originally was released in 1978. And I didn't see it then, but I did see it on its re-release, plus countless viewings at home. And of course, I had the lovely and beautiful and gorgeous Antonia Franceschi on here 2 years ago, August, who I discovered was a backup dancer for the film. Well, today I have one of the T-Birds on here, and I'm assuming he's the coolest T-Bird. We're just going to say that since he's on the phone with us. I have the fellow who played...
Was it my tan? Was it the length of my hair?
It's your squirt. It was your squirt gun.
The squirt gun.
Folks, I have Doody himself on the phone, Barry Pearl. Welcome, Barry.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here, Greg. So it's the Python Hyena, huh?
Yeah.
So I mean, it conjures this reptile laughing a lot. Where does the Python Hyena come from?
Well, originally my DJ name was just Python because I love snakes. I always loved snakes. But I also I have a big love for African wildlife, and of course the African rock python being I think the second longest snake in the world. I like the spotted hyena because, number one, very unusual creature, and I also find between the snake and the hyena, they're two of the most looked down on animals, but yet two of the most misunderstood animals because they play a very important role in the
ecosystem.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's great. I like snakes too. I've never had a snake for a pet, nor have I had a hyena. I've been told that I'm kind of like a laughing hyena sometimes myself when you hear me laugh. But the snake holds a fascination for me as well.
Yeah, I just find them. They say, this is something I read, that they kill more pests and rodents than birds of prey and cats.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I did not know that until about a year ago.
Yeah.
And they say the spotted hyena they have stomachs like cast iron. They'd be right at home in a sewer. They clean up what everybody throws away, which is why they even eat the bones. Got
it. The grand plan. Doesn't it fascinate you?
It does fascinate me, yep. I've never been to Africa, but I know some people that's gone there, and that one of the stops they made, there was hyenas finishing up a lion kill of a zebra, and they went back by nightfall, and that thing was gone.
Yeah.
Nothing left.
Yeah. I believe it. It's there was a thought that I had here. I see that my wife is trying to call in on this line, but that reminds me of what I want to say, that my wife and I are into cats. We have a domestic cat, of course, Gracie, who we adore. She's our fuzzy cat child, but also a respect for and a fascination for the big cats.
Oh, I love the big cats.
And would love to travel to Africa to experience. There's a woman there, I can't think of her name, who has a sanctuary for cats, and you can go and visit and hang with the cats. It takes a long time to get there because it's by air and then by land. You're driving into. It takes forever to get there, but it's something that is on my bucket list. I'd really, really love to hang with the big cats.
Do you have a favorite big cat?
Probably the tiger. I think.
Same here. Yep.
Yeah, probably the tiger. I did have the opportunity to work for Siegfried and Roy very briefly. They produced a pilot for a 4-part animation series called Siegfried and Roy that didn't sell, but that we did 4 of them. And I got to go up to Vegas at some point to see them and sent them back a note telling them that I was in the audience. And they so lovely greeted me. They were lovely guys and gave me all kinds of stuffed animals and souvenir books and all kinds of things. And had I been in the city long enough, they would have had me over to their sanctuary. And that would have been just like dying and going to heaven at that point. To have hung with those animals, their animals in particular, and I just would love to hug them and kiss them and snuggle with them. And I love all the YouTube videos that you see. There are folks that are sort of cat whisperers, if you will, and I just find that fascinating.
Well, the tiger you won't find in Africa, but they are the biggest of the big cats.
Well, there you go. Busted.
Yeah.
What do I know?
Well, Africa, they do have the lion, they have the cheetah, and they have the leopard.
Okay.
And plus, they got some smaller ones as well. Huh?
I'd go for any one of those.
Yeah. But no, you find tigers in the Asian countries, though.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
But, and there's some smaller cats as well that's in Africa as well. But those are three of the bigger ones. But the tiger's the biggest of the big cats, so yeah, fascinating creature.
Thank you for enlightening me there.
Oh, yeah. Well, I look at a lot of those YouTube videos as well. So I watch a lot of those, especially African. But I do love tigers as well. Beautiful animal. Yeah.
We do beautifully digress, don't we?
Yeah. You mentioned your wife. Just a question: is she a beautiful blonde pineapple?
No, the new Marketonian was a beautiful blonde pineapple.
I could just see Doody handling social media today, going on one of those dating sites. Gee, where does it say where I could pick a beautiful blonde pineapple?
No, I have an exquisitely gorgeous brunette pineapple right now. We've actually just celebrated a year marriage on the 24th of March, but we've been together for 16. I don't know what took me so long.
Well, you know what they said in Greece? 15 seconds. Or was it 45? Or was it 45 or something?
I think it's 15 minutes, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, 15 minutes. Whatever. You know, Potsy wasn't going to get it anyway, so.
No, that's true. So the time frame there really didn't much matter.
Yeah. But, I would have been 6 years old when Grease came out, and I went and I saw it in 1998 in the big screen, whenever it came out, and I saw it at a midnight screening a few years ago, and it's interesting because people came dressed up as the T-Birds, and I remember in the middle of the theater, there was a group of females. They sang along with Olivia Newton-John when she was singing Helplessly Devoted to You.
Yeah. It's amazing to watch that happen.
Yeah, and this was at a midnight screening, and as I mentioned earlier, I had already interviewed the beautiful Antonia Franceschi. I love her.
Yes, she's quite something. She was one of the core dancers. Yeah, and then she went on. I want to say she did. What's the turning point? I want to say she did another film.
Fame.
About. Say again. Oh, it was
Fame. You see, I'm going to tell you, when I interviewed her, I didn't know she had done Grease. I started doing these podcast interviews in April of 2015, and after my first interview, I was like, who else can I get in touch with? And it was August that year I had Antonia, and I guess I was looking over the movies I had on Blu-ray, and I was like, Fame's celebrating a 15-year anniversary that year, so, or not 15, 35th anniversary, because that would have been 2015. So I knew who I wanted to interview because she was the beautiful ballet dancer. So, and I found her webpage, and I reached out to her, and she responded, and she sent me some information. And it's like, she was in Grease. And you know what? I didn't have to watch Grease to know which one she was. And no offense to the other dancers, but she was the cute one.
you go.
And I told her every place I'd seen her, and she confirmed. Like when Patty Simcox finds the frog in her purse, she's sitting at the table. I see her at the
Right
table.
next to her, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And of course, when you smack Eugene with the pie, I can see her standing right there, right beside him.
Oh, really? Is she? I'll have to look at that again.
Well, I asked her, I said, did they get you too?
We might have. That's one of my favorite moments of the film. I was just talking to Eddie just the other day. Actually, we were communicating via Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how it came up, but I said that particular. Oh, I know what it was. Somebody posted a clip of that very moment, and I said that was one of my most favorite moments. It was really honest, not because I got to hit my sweet little brother Eddie with a pie, but there was just something very honest about the moment. And I like my reaction there. I don't like many of my reactions of the film, but that one I think was of disdain. Of course, that he hits Coach Calhoun and I didn't. But the funny thing, about that whole filming, that particular part, they needed, of course, to have a shot of Sid getting hit by the pie that Eugene throws, and of course, not get hit by the pies that I throw.
Yeah.
So when it came time to shoot the part where he actually gets hit, I convinced everybody that I could actually hit him, and from a very close distance. I was just off camera. And they called action. I must have wasted about 4 pies not hitting him, even at close range, where they said, get out of there, Barry. Just get. So they had one of their stunt folks do it correctly right on the first take. So I felt very embarrassed that even at a close distance, I couldn't hit him.
Well, I asked Antonia if they got her, and she said no, because I heard there was a pie fight offset.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Oh,
it may have been because because we hit Randall with a pie. We hit our director with a pie. In fact, there are still photographs of that I have.
Did you get anybody else?
I don't recall. I don't much recall. But I excuse me. Out here in California, we're all suffering from allergies. It's that time of year.
Oh, we're just watching the snow melt.
Well, yeah. I didn't mean to make you feel bad. I have an 8x10 photograph of the film strip that were, I guess, taken from the negatives of the strips. And in that 8x10, there's a small thumbnail of Randall getting hit by the pie. I may even have an 8x10 of that blown up too. But so a pie fight must have ensued. I just don't recall.
Well, I always loved that kind of humor, so. Yep. Yep. But no, I had a nice little chat with Antonia Franceschi, and like I said, I went in and interviewed her about Fame, and I loved her. And in Fame, she had a nice speaking role, and yep. And but I had a nice chat with her about Grease, and like I said, she confirmed that I was able to pick her out in all those scenes. And
yes.
Yeah.
She's quite something. Very talented. But that entire core of dancers just were amazing. Just amazing. They worked very, very hard under the direction of Pat Birch, Pat, I had met Pat back in 1968, 67, I should say, 67, 68. I did You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, the Boston Company, and Pat was the original choreographer for that project. And then, some 4, 5, 6 years later, I had been cast in Grease, and excuse me, she was a choreographer in Grease, and then in the film she also choreographed, and then she went on to direct Grease 2. But she worked those core dancers to the bone, and they're the backbone of the entire piece, those 20 guys and gals.
Yeah. Well, Antonia, I noticed that she's got dark hair, and
Yes.
in Grease. In Fame, her hair is kind of a blonde, or kind of a blondish color. So,
Yeah.
did you see her in Fame?
Oh, yeah, but it was so long ago. I remember I said I knew that she was in another dance film. I
Yeah.
thought it was Turning Point. But no, the Fame, you're right. That's what it was.
Well, she had good
Been a
things.
while.
Yeah, she had good things to say about everybody in Greece and in Fame, and I actually just heard from her over the weekend. I got her on Facebook, and I wished her a happy Easter. About a day later, she responded. So I noticed she posts a lot of great ballet and dance videos and that she's part of. So I guess she's doing really, really well at teaching that stuff over there.
Yeah, I've been out of touch. I've been out of touch with a lot of those folks. I'm mainly in touch with with the principals, Dee and Michael and Kelly and Jamie and Olivia, of course. And I work with John's brother, Joey Travolta. Joey has a company called Inclusion Films. And we go out every summer. And actually we went out, excuse me, this spring. And I'm about to go out to Arkansas next week teaching film arts to special needs folks. Joey Travolta's passion with special needs. And
the T-Birds.
I beg your pardon?
The T-Birds. Speaking of special needs.
But it's quite a company that he has, because he fosters these folks and teaches them the art, and then they go on to have careers in the film business, and in his company actually. So it's a path that opened up for me about 3 years ago now, going on 4 years, where they asked me to come on and teach, and I teach improvisation. So I sort of attacked this process via my knowledge of improv, and it has served me very well. And I cannot tell you the joy that we all get from being involved in this culture and seeing these folks just blossom through their artistic expression. It's quite something. Again, it's called Inclusion Films, and we go out with the Joey Travolta Summer Film Camp all across the country for 2 months in the summer, and as I said, done a couple this spring, and it looks like it may become a year-round thing, although he does have 5 year-round facilities across the country as well, which is quite something.
You mind if I add you on Facebook?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, because I was going to say, I've got Antonia on my friends list if you want to reach out to her,
Yeah, I mean, I do have an email address for her. We have been in touch through the years when we have to rally together for whatever reason, events or business matters. We usually are in touch then.
Yeah. Well, I say you had an interesting dancers in that movie. One thing I pointed out to her, of course, one of those fellows that stood out, the guy that had his hair on a point, that made that really awkward dance at the end of it.
God, there's so many of them.
She knew what I was talking about. There was one of them that just looked a little too cartoony when he did the dance at the end on the fairgrounds.
Oh, I'm not sure which one that is.
Oh, he had the green shirt. He has hair down into a point.
Oh, I know who you said. It's probably Danny. Oh gosh, Elevens. Oh, Daniel. Oh my gosh, why can't I remember her last name? Thank you, old age. Danny Levin, I want to say. That he has the green shirt, and he's right in the front there when they're doing the Groucho Marx move.
Yeah, he was doing it all right.
Yeah, they were great. They were all just wonderful.
Now, you were Doody there with your little squirt gun, and give us a little bit of your background and how you come to be part of Grease.
Well, it's an interesting story. In 1972, in the summer of 1972, that was the summer before my senior year of college at Carnegie Mellon University, and I had gone to Chicago that summer to work with the Chicago Free Street Theater, and the work bled into the first semester of my senior year, and Carnegie gave me allowed me to go off to Europe with this company for kind of a work study, gave me credit for going to Europe with this particular theater company. And I worked with a fellow who wound up becoming the understudy on the first national tour of Greece. And when I went back to college that January of '73, Greece came through Pittsburgh, and my friend John Lansing, called me and said, hey, why don't you come down and see the show that I'm in? And I agreed to do so. And I must say, prior to this, friends of mine that I was going to school with at Carnegie were transfer students from school out here in California who had gone to school with a fellow named Michael Lembeck, who they told me I reminded them so much of. Well, I go down to see this production of Grease, this national tour, and Michael Lembeck is in the show playing the role of Sonny. So when he comes out on stage, he comes out backwards. They had him coming out backwards with his card, his school schedule in his hand, turning around and saying, son of a bitch, I got old lady Lynch for English again, and she hates my gut. And he turns around. Well, Greg, it was like looking at myself. The guy did remind me of me as well. So the next day, I got on the phone with my agent, and I said, you got to get me auditioned for this show. They're going to have subsequent companies, I'm sure, and I'm right for this show. So a week later, my agent called me to say, I've got you an appointment. You got to fly in from Pittsburgh, which I did. I came in and auditioned. Well, a week after that, I get a phone call from my agent telling me that they want me to come back to New York right away for a callback because Michael Lembeck had broken his ankle while they were in Toronto with the show.
Oh.
So I flew back in, and I got the gig. They said, we want to take you right up to Toronto. And I said, you know what? I have 2 weeks of my senior year to finish, and I got to do that. I said, all right, then we'll be in Detroit, Michigan by that point. We'll fly you up as soon as you're finished with school. So I did that, and for 3 weeks, basically what I did was I understudied the understudy who had gone on from Michael, so that if anything happened to any of the other guys, that understudy would pop into that position, and then I would take over the role of Sonny. So, and then in this company, by the way, you had Mary Lou Henner, and Jeff Conaway, may he rest in peace, was playing Zuko, and John Travolta was playing Doody. And so I had gone to Jerry Zaks, who's a very successful Broadway director. In fact, right now, he and Robert De Niro are co-directing Chaz Palminteri's Bronx Tale on Broadway, a musical version of it on Broadway.
Okay.
I think it's just opened. In any event, I went to Jerry and I said, hey, would you mind playing sick for a performance so that the understudy could go into your role and I could get a chance to go on as Sonny? And he said, well, yeah, I will if stage management says it's okay. Well, I knew that wasn't going to happen. Sure enough, Jerry came back to me and said, nah, they said no. Well, that Saturday, May 19th of 1973, I get a call in my hotel room in the morning by the production stage manager saying, Jerry Zaks is sick. You're going on as Sonny. So on May 19th of 1973, I stepped on stage for the first time in that role. Well, Greg, 4 years to the day later, May 19th of 1977, I landed the movie playing Doody, but basically Doody is Sonny.
Okay.
They flipped around the roles. I was basically doing what I did as Sonny in the stage play. That's my characterization of Doody. And Putsy, played by Kelly Ward, is really playing the role of Doody. And Michael Tucci, who plays the role of Sonny in the movie, is really playing the role of Roger from the play. So they mix it all around. Anyhow, it's fascinating that May 19th is a very special day because other mystical, magical things have happened to me on that day. It was also the day in 1989 that was the last time my mother ever saw me perform live on stage out here in California in a play called Pepper Street. And it goes on and on and on. May 19th is just, for some reason, it's a day that has great things have happened in my life. In any event, that's how I got involved. They had told us that nobody from the stage play would be hired in the movie. They were looking for new faces altogether. And that just, wasn't the case. I auditioned. Michael Tucci had been in the First National Company. Jamie Donnelly had been associated, of course, John.
Yeah.
So a bunch of us had connection to the stage play. So and then there's the whole audition, which was crazy too. But that's a whole other story. But it just was like meant to be, and it turned out to be what I call my wonderful haunting. Through the years, if what we do here as artists, if our goal is to leave our mark, our positive mark on the world, then I feel like we've done that. Those of us that have been involved in this production, because as you see, Greg, generation after generation seems to fall in love with this film for all kinds of reasons. The wonderful music, the wonderful choreography, the well-acted characters, the beautiful gorgeousness of Olivia and John. You can't keep your eyes off of them. Camera loves them. And also that it deals with coming of age and the old boy meets girl, boy loses girl story. It's just classic. We all experience it in some way, shape, or form, and so it lasts through the ages.
It's funny you mentioned May 19th. You know what happened to me last year, May 19th?
What's that?
I interviewed Alfred Hitchcock's granddaughter.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
You mentioned May 19th. I said something special happened to me on that date last year.
There you go.
That was pretty cool. Yeah, I wanted to know, do you still count when you dance?
I sometimes, but not when I dance for fun, But if I'm choreographed in something, for a while I do, and then it just becomes second nature.
Yeah, yeah, I noticed you did that. Did that in the film. Stop, Frenchie! I'm counting.
Yes.
I always find it weird that how many people, and my brother's the same way, gets annoyed with this. How many people don't understand the last shot of the film? I even watched Mojo. I think have had this. They said it was. I think they said it was one of the worst endings, saying the car flying in the air. And I'm like, I looked at my brother and I said, do they not understand what symbolism is? Their car is not flying. It's a feeling. It's how they feel. They're so in love with each other. They feel like they're flying. The car is not flying.
I mean, I've never really examined that, and I think you're right though that it is the essence of what they now feel having ended up together, and the elation of all that. It's a nice way of looking at it. There is a whole cult out there that talks about the fact that Zuko has died and this is all a dream.
Oh yeah,
which is just not the case. Of Jim Jacobs, the original writer, actually poo-pooed that not too long ago. I think it was on Facebook. It's just not the case. It wasn't that deep, believe me. And certainly in the stage play, there is no such thing. They all just get together at, it's the Burger Palace in the play, not the Frosty Palace. And they all get together, and everybody's stories have resolved. Again, Rizzo's not pregnant, and Sonny gets a car, and Sonny winds up with Frenchie, of course. And Sonny winds up with Marty, and they all, the whole crowd's together again. And then wop babaloo baba wop bam boom, they're into the song. We go together. The reprise of We Go Together gets played there, but in the movie you only have We Go Together as the final number. Yeah, but there is also a song called All Choked Up, which is in the fashion of All Shook Up. Mm-hmm. That was replaced by You're the One That I Want. They were never very happy with All Choked Up. I thought it was a great tune. So they change things around in films. They just have a habit of doing that to punch it up and I guess make it more appealing to the crowds. I mean, for instance, in the original stage play, Cha-Cha is not a gorgeous Latina. Cha-Cha is an overweight, not very good-looking girl, and that's the funny part that Kenickie says earlier, I got a hot date, and he winds up coming to the date with somebody that looks like a school bus dressed in a big yellow frilled dress.
Okay.
Dolly Madison-looking curls in her hair. That was the joke. But then they change it up for the gorgeous, wonderfully talented, and late dear friend Annette Charles, to play Cha-Cha, which works, works for the film. But now that's become what people expect to see when they do the stage play. When I direct the play, I direct as close to the original production as possible. You can't find the original script much anymore because the language is racy, and because of the political correctness the culture that we happen to be in right now, it's politically incorrect to do that script. Unfortunately, it's gritty. I think it's quite wonderful, but it is what it is.
John Travolta just came hot off of Saturday Night Fever, which is, again, one of my all-time favorite movies. And then, of course, he dons the leather jacket again as Danny Zukoff. What was your experience like working with John?
Oh, great. As I mentioned, we had done the stage play together, the first national tour. And John everybody loves John. He was full of wonder and sweetness, and just everybody dug him and I didn't get to work with him very long. I was only there, like I said, for 3 weeks, and then came back into the show at the end of that summer, because when Michael Lembeck, when his ankle healed, he came back into the show, so I was laid off, and it wasn't until the end of that summer of '73 that I was brought back into the show. But by that time, I think John was in it for a little while and then left. They pulled him out to do Over Here, which was a Broadway show about the Andrews sisters. So I didn't work with him very long in the stage play after that. But then, of course, in the film for 15 weeks. And then we stayed in touch through the years. He's just one of those people that lives a clean, ethical life, and everybody adores.
Yeah,
I don't have a bad word to say about this. The whole family's that way. Ellen and Margaret and Annie and I don't know Sam very well, but Joey is the salt of the earth, who I work for with the in Inclusion Films, and they're all they all know where they came from. They had real deep roots with family, and they all have a real strong sense of values and morals. And John, he just walks that talk. It's quite amazing. I don't know anybody like him, really.
Autograph Collector magazine always has him as one of the all-time best signers, too, which I really like hearing about.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Autograph Collector magazine always had him listed among the top for autograph signings.
And what does that mean exactly?
It means he's approachable.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They always had every year the top best and worst signers, and John Travolta was always one of the best signers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really nice to know. Yeah. I wonder where Paul McCartney ranks.
I don't know, but there are some that are just rude, that to the point where I don't even want to support their films. But John was always said to be very nice. And how cool was it when he landed Pulp Fiction? What an interesting comeback for him.
Yeah, truly. It was a turnaround for him. You're absolutely right. And we do have Quentin Tarantino to thank for that. It was a wonderful departure for him. I'm a huge fan of John's. Except for Battlestar Earth or whatever that was.
Battlefield Earth. I agree with you.
Battlefield Earth. I mean, I'll be the first to say that was, I just did not appeal to me at all, and then many. John has his reasons for doing what he does, and I appreciate that. But everything else, I just love everything that he does. I cannot take my eyes off of him. His work is so honest, and he has such a wide range. Did you just see the other night? It probably aired in Canada. The Salute to the Bee Gees.
I did not. No, I love the Bee Gees though. And
this was really wonderful. It framed Barry Gibb, and because of course he's the only one that's alive now from the family and from the brothers. And it was a whole evening devoted to him and the music. And John was one of the hosts.
Okay.
and he is thanked by Barry Gibb for his work in Saturday Night Fever. John had a lot to do with that whole thing coming to fruition. And it was a wonderful special. It was a 2-hour special, and they played all the Bee Gees music, all the popular music, sung by all kinds of different artists. And it was just lovely to see. But yes, we can thank Quentin Tarantino for that turnaround. It's wonderful, that whole dynamic.
Yeah.
And John, from that point on, John has maintained. You got to hand it to him. He's chosen great projects, in my opinion, and hasn't oversaturated the market, and is just very bright when it comes to choosing these projects. Yeah. So my hat's off to the guy.
And speaking of lovely, what a transformation we see. I just remember, I love the shot where, you got John in that white shirt there, and you guys like, Danny Zuko going jock, and he wants to, wants to do right by Sandy. And of course, I remember too, you see it first, and you kind of tap the shoulder, I think it's of Sonny, and and they all keep looking over, and you see the feet, you see the legs. Olivia Newton-John, wow, what a sight.
Yeah, I will tell you that, thinking about this now, more than any other moment in the film, any other moment that I'm in, it's those two moments for me where I first see Zuko in the Letterman sweater, and at first I think it's a joke, and I start the sentence out thinking it's a joke, and then right in the middle of the sentence I become incredulous, and then realize that this is for real. And I really enjoyed the way that particular take and the way I executed that, and then that second moment when I notice her and tap Sonny.
Okay.
So for me, in the film, those two moments in that one larger moment were the most gratifying to me, looking at the work as a whole. Those very two moments. Otherwise, I don't much like what I look like or sound like in most anything that I do, quite honestly. But those two moments that you bring up right now, that's quite something. Her reveal as Bad Sandy, if you will.
Yeah, I love Olivia Newton-John. I used to listen to Physical when I was younger. I still listen to Physical. What a gorgeous woman. What was the experience like working with her?
Well, she's another one that just very humble, because she had done another film prior to this called Tomorrow that wasn't a huge success, and she fancied herself as a singer, and that's it. And what one doesn't realize is, to sell a song the way she did, she had to have some acting chops. But that's not what she relied on. She relied on her gorgeous voice. And if you recall, you must have seen it in print or actually heard her say it, seen her say it, that she insisted on a screen test.
Yeah, I heard that.
She wanted to make sure that everybody was sure. And it takes a lot of courage and a lot of humility to do something like that. And that bespeaks, even to this day, who she is. Very honest, very loving woman. We are still in touch through the years. We have gone to see her perform, and she's actually had us up on stage performing too. Whenever any of us are in the audience, she always announces us, and we always go up and sing Summer Nights with her, and it's just fabulous. The audiences love it. Her crew, her singers and musicians love when it happens. She's very gracious in that way. And doing the film, she was just that. She was humble, gorgeous, like you see it on screen, and sweet and willing to learn. The whole experience. Many times we are asked about whether or not there were any sordid details that we could let folks in on. That wasn't the atmosphere there. Everybody was there to work, and everybody contributed. and everybody was so glad to be doing this piece. We had no clue that it was going to turn out to be what it became. Anybody that tells you they know that they've got a crystal ball that can predict the future is feeding you a line. We had no clue. We just had a party working, and everybody contributed, and everybody behaved themselves. Everybody respected everybody, and that, I think, manifested in what you see on that screen. There's a lot of camaraderie going on.
It's interesting.
And I think, is what makes for the piece being as successful as it has been through the years.
It's interesting you bring that up, because sometimes, I'll go to the nightclubs and the DJ has, on occasion, played a collaboration of several songs from Greece back to back. And like Summer Nights still gets people on the dance floor.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
But actually, Olivia did a movie Up This Way a few years ago. It was a corny movie, but it was kind of fun. It was called Score, a Hockey Musical.
Score, a hockey musical?
Yeah, Score. It has the two little dots, a hockey musical, and it's such a corny movie, but I kind of grinned at it. It's she plays one of a mom in the movie, and her son. You know how hockey, there's a lot of violence in hockey?
Yeah.
Well, this guy uses musical numbers to try to convey love out in the ice, and it's so corny. But at the same token, I'm like, I kind of get what this movie's trying to do. But yeah,
I was unaware of that.
Yeah, it was called Score, a Hockey Musical, and I was like, what is Olivia Newton-John doing in this dinky little film? But, of course, she sang in it, but it's a funny little item.
I was completely unaware of it.
Yeah.
But just a delightful human being.
Yeah.
A lovely lady. Yeah, what you see is what you get with her. She's just the best.
And, of course, Stockard Channing playing Rizzo. We all love her.
Yeah, we don't really, we all don't communicate much with Stockard. Stockard kind of went off and did her own thing, and she's brilliant. What a wonderful actress she is. And she had, she has this huge career, but doesn't much connect herself with the film. She really wanted to move away from it. But there's no denying that it helped to jettison her to where she is. Yeah. Her work for the most part after that certainly was not in musical theater or film or television. She immersed herself in dramatic teleplay. Her work on West Wing was spectacular. Her work in Good Wife was amazing, and her stage work also huge success. But doesn't much stay connected with the group in that way. And I mean, that's her choice. I'm not placing any kind of value judgment on that choice. But that was just kind of what she did,
And speaking of racy, her character Rizzo was right up there.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Sure was.
And of course, I felt so sad when I heard it, the passing of Jeff Conaway, who was so good as Kenickie. And one of my favorite scenes in the movie is where he is basically causing a disturbance at the dance. Like, he gets into a fight with the guy, and he grabs Patty Simcox and lifts her up in the air and all this. He's just causing a rumpus, and they can't get him off the floor.
Yeah. He was an amazingly talented man and a great loss.
We
grew up together.
What's that?
Together in New York.
I felt really sad because I felt I always felt that I guess he was suffering. I'm not sure what from, but he wasn't able to get whatever help that he needed. At least that's from my perspective.
Yeah, well, people with those sorts of problems are sometimes tough to get through to.
Yeah, but I really liked him in the film. In fact, in many ways, Kenickie is one of my favorite characters in the movie, and I think he played him so well.
There's a lot of vulnerability there. Well, Jeff comes from a stage background. Like I said, we grew up together. and he was always a working actor growing up, and to me he was the definitive Danny Zuko, because I saw him play Zuko for the first time when I first saw the show, as I mentioned, in Detroit. Jeff also was the person who turned me on to sushi back in 1973.
Okay.
And was a dear friend.
Do you know where you was when you heard the news?
Where I was?
Yeah.
I was doing a show on Broadway called Baby It's You.
Okay.
And he actually passed on my mother's birthday, I want to say.
Oh.
And interesting that just before you called, my wife and I are helping a friend out by having a baby shower at our home on, are you ready for the date? May 19th.
May 19th.
And we were trying to find the name of the company that rented our tables and chairs for our barbecue last June. And I thought it was the same company that provided us with those materials when I had a memorial here for Jeff in October, the year after a couple of months after he passed. Mm-hmm. And so just before you called, I was looking for that information, and it's just kind of odd that we're talking about this now. But yeah, so I was in New York when it happened, doing a show, and yeah, I mean, we knew that he was headed down this path. It's very difficult to intervene when you're dealing with a personality as strong as his, as determined as his, to basically destroy himself. It was just that's what makes for the tragedy, because he had so much to offer us, so much more that we'll never, unfortunately, we'll never experience.
And of course, Michael Tucci and Kelly Ward played the other T-Birds. Tell me, Michael Tucci, is he still banging his erasers after school?
Michael was, for many years, working as the dean of the drama department at St. Francis High School for Boys here in La Cañada, Flint Ridge. I believe that's where it was located, Glendale, in that area. And he just retired recently and was just in the movie Heat that Paul Feig directed.
Okay.
And in fact, both he and Kelly and I are meeting tomorrow morning for breakfast. So we stay very closely connected.
Well, you know what? It was funny. I mentioned Jeff Conaway at the dance sequence, at the prom dance. But even Michael Tucci, talk about making the best of a bad situation. Dinah Manoff goes off with the other guy, the older guy. And he's over there. He's pouring liquor in the punch bowl, and the teacher goes, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Washing my hands."
Yeah.
You see him walking around with
I think that was an ad lib, actually.
Oh, yeah. You see shots of him walking behind people with the camera, and he holds a little flask up, takes it all from it, and keeps walking. He added a lot of humor.
He did. He's a really fine actor, actually. And, yes, he brought a lot to that role.
And Kelly Ward as well. Very, very funny in the movie.
Yeah, Kelly's terrific. He's a very talented man. He's made his living primarily now since Grease directing animation.
Okay.
The Mickey Mouse Club, and I think he wrote All Dogs Go to Heaven, or wrote and directed, produced. He was part of the creative team that brought that project to fruition, and a very successful director of animation.
Okay. And, of course, we got the Pink Ladies. We got, Didi Con. I mean, she has that voice. She's been around. We've known her forever. She was Frenchie, a.k.a. the beautiful blonde pineapple. And she was your girlfriend in the film.
Yes, she was, and I could not have had it better. We just worked together in Grease Live. They teamed us up, if you recall. Did you see that? Did that air up in Canada?
I don't think so. It could. Maybe it could have. I don't know.
Did you get Peter Pan and Sound of Music and Hairspray up there?
Well, I hope we didn't get Peter Pan, because according to Howard Stern, that did not turn out well.
No, it didn't actually. So maybe you guys didn't see it up there. That's interesting. In any event, Dee Dee is a gift to the world on so many levels. We still are very closely connected, and I see her occasionally. She comes out here. I'm going back east. We hang out. She and her multi-talented husband, David Shire, who's a writer-composer. She was terrific to work with. We had a great time. All the girls. And Dinah, we're still very closely connected. And Jamie Donnelly, who played Jan, she too. We have a great relationship. We've maintained these friendships through the years. It's a big family. A big, loving, wonderful family.
Love that toothpaste commercial that Jamie
Beaver. I pat him.
And of course, we mentioned earlier about the pie thing. I just clicked in my mind. Dinah Manoff, I think, was in an episode of Empty Nest where she got hit with a pie.
Yeah, well, she was a regular on Empty Nest.
Yeah, I remember seeing that clip, and it just hit me now that she was on the receiving end of that as well. Yeah. No, I loved all these people in the movie, and there's other people, of course, Eve Arden. How great was she as the principal?
Terrific. I didn't get very close to Eve or Joan Blondell, and it kills me because I had the opportunity to pick their brains, and I think I might have been shy, talking to them. Again, we got on famously, but I looking back, especially I'm watching a series on FX called Feud, and this particular season is dealing with Bette Davis and Joan Crawford and their feud through the years. And in it, what's her name? Who's in the movie Misery? Kathy Bates.
Kathy Bates
plays Joan Blondell being interviewed, and I'm watching this, and this interview, because it's a period piece, takes place in 1977, I want to say, and that's when we shot Grease. And I thought, gosh, I wish I would have picked her brain. I wish I'd have gotten closer to her. She's an icon, and I didn't take advantage of it. My bad. But I think I had more communication with Eve than I did with Joan. I worked with Eve. Eve was in more of the film, obviously.
Eve was busy giving Michael detention.
Say that again?
She was busy giving Michael detention.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. No, and I heard that the two of them, even Joan, ad-libbed a lot of their lines.
Oh, they may have. I don't know. You may be right.
And of course, Sid Caesar, man, another great iconic presence in the film.
Yes, indeed. I mean, fortunately, I knew Sid before. Sid and I had worked together in 1970. I directed him in a production of Oliver at the St. Louis Municipal Opera. So Sid and I had a relationship before that, and it was great to be able to work with him again on this. And then we actually did another project. We were in it together, though we didn't work together. It was the Munsters Revenge.
Okay.
It was the first time that you saw the Munsters in color. It was a backdoor pilot that never made it until years later. The Arthur Company produced it with John Schuck and Lee Merriweather.
Okay. Yeah.
But Sid and I were both in that pilot, the Munsters Revenge.
Well, he was wonderful as Coach Calhoun.
Terrific.
Yeah, very positive. Like he's a hitter,
Yeah.
And of course, Eddie Deezen we talked about. I heard Eddie Deezen. I heard this from Steve actually. Never ever drove in his life, and different people had to take him home.
To this day, Eddie doesn't drive. That's correct.
Yeah. Eddie's been in some stuff, and of course, most notable playing Eugene, where you guys shock his hand with that buzzer.
Mm-hmm.
And Susan Buckner playing Patty Simcox. I didn't realize until the last few years they nerd her up in Grease, but I didn't realize how beautiful she really is.
Yeah, she's quite a beautiful woman.
Yeah.
She's just spectacular, and a lovely person as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely lovely. Yeah.
And also gone from us, Dennis Stewart, who of course played Craterface.
Yeah, the Craterface, right, the head of the Scorpions.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the first of us, I want to say. Although Tommy Smith, who was the assistant choreographer and was our production stage manager on the national tour, also left us really early. But yeah, I think that Dennis may have been the first casualty that we experienced from the cast, actually. So it's again just great losses.
What was Dennis like? We see him play this bad guy character in this in Grease, but what was he like?
Another one whose personality and heart was antithetical to what he played. Again, a sweet man.
Yeah.
None sweeter, quite honestly. Yeah, it's wild that he played the character that he played.
Yeah, I always heard that a lot of the people playing the villains turn out to be the nicest people,
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
And of course, we can't forget Frankie Avalon in that beauty school dropout segment with Frenchie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He's I bumped into Frankie through the years, and another sweet individual. My goodness, a delightful and a family man, huge family, and just has a great sense of values, and just so fortunate to. In fact, Frankie and I worked together. After Grease, we did a pilot called The Romeos with Michael Damian and Billy Vera, Billy and the Beaters, and the Mighty Echoes, the doo-wop group. And again, just wonderful, terrific people. I think all of those people came together as one collective heart, beautiful, loving heart. And again, as I said before, it manifested in what you see on that screen.
Do you have a favorite musical number in Grease?
Well, unfortunately, we didn't get to do.
Like a favorite song. Like I've got the soundtrack, like "Grease is the Word" is a great song, and
terrific.
Yeah, like
I probably that. Although the song that I love the best from the stage play, which you only hear in the background, it was "Mooning."
Oh yeah.
You hear it in the background during the dance contest. But I suppose my favorite, I guess, to perform was "Grease Lightning," and "Grease is the Word" was not in the original play.
No.
Although it was really well done. Frankie Valli and of course it was a Barry Gibb song. I like it too. I like all the music. "Hopelessly Devoted" wasn't in the original.
And it was nominated for the Oscar.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
So
beautiful animated.
I like a lot of the music.
Yeah, I was going to say beautiful animated at the beginning with Grease as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did a great job there.
Now, was that the three of you doing the mooning in the dance? Speaking of mooning.
Yes. Yes, that was us. We had no body doubles. That was us.
I had mentioned to you before that I had interviewed a few other people from some of your other films, and I was just going through, and it's funny because I didn't pick you up in these films, and then when I read the character you had, I'm like slapping my palm to my head. Because I watched Avenging Angel not too long ago, and of course you played Johnny Glitter. I'm like, that was you?
Yeah, it was me.
That was you. You were always in trouble.
Yeah.
I had, it was last year in January, I'd interviewed the gorgeous Betsy Russell wow, talk about beautiful women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's also just, it was great, working with her too. She was, I don't think she had done as large a part in any film prior to that. As far as I don't remember what her filmography is, but that was a fun shoot too. That my friend Robert O'Neill had written and directed.
Mm-hmm. Well, she was in private school with
that's right.
Phoebe Cates, and then she went on to be in the Saw franchise.
I never saw the Saw film.
Oh yeah, she's
Oh,
in the
I thought-
third.
yeah.
Yeah, she's in the third through the seventh one.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, she was the wife
I
of
didn't know that.
Jigsaw. Yeah, it's interesting because one thing I remember when I interviewed her is that we had just got hit with a snowstorm. That was in January of 2016. We got hit with a snowstorm, and I asked her what the weather was like where she was, and she was in Malibu, and she was saying, "Well, it's drizzle, not much fun." And I asked her, I said, "Do you want some snow?" Well, like we could use just drizzle, you know.
I hear you.
But yeah, I'd interviewed Betsy Russell from that film, and of course Rory Calhoun was in that as well. Talk about a screen legend.
He was Rory too. We had done. In fact, while we were shooting that, we were also on Capitol. He was a regular on that, and I was a recurring on the. It was soap opera called Capitol, and a sweet guy too. Another one, just salt of the earth, and he'd been around a long time.
Yep.
So he knew his stuff.
Yeah. No, like I said, when I was preparing this interview, I was like, Barry Pearl was Johnny Glitter? Like, you were the one putting...
Only the biggies for me. Only the biggies.
Actually, that was a pretty funny role, you know? You had all that glittery stuff and all that street magic you were doing and basically getting in trouble.
You know, it's funny. I just watched those clips the other day. They were on YouTube, I want to say. I don't know why I was looking for something else, and there it was. So I watched the film, and yeah, that magic stuff was stuff that I came up with. I remember going to Hollywood Magic and picking up a bunch of tricks and running them past my director, and he liked this. He liked that stuff, and so we incorporated, you know, the match becoming the flower and all that kind of stuff. And that was a fun shoot, a really fun shoot.
And of course, you were in My Favorite Martian with Christopher Lloyd.
Right, I had a little role in that, playing the role of Barry. My friend Don Petrie directed that.
Yeah, I don't remember you in the film. I saw that only once. I know Jeff Daniels in it and the beautiful Elizabeth Hurley.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And as you mentioned, Christopher Lloyd playing Uncle Martin.
Yep.
Brilliantly. Yeah. And that was a fun one. Worked with what's his name, Alan Lerner, I think was the guy that was the head of the studio. I was the director, I guess it was, director of photography.
Now another fella that I had interviewed that you'd worked with, and it's funny because I had this guy on last August, and I'm having him on again this Friday because he's got some other projects coming up. And he sent me his music CD after my last interview with him. The movie Tryst, Peter Foldy.
Tryst. Oh, Peter. Oh, yeah, Peter. Yeah, he's a buddy of mine. I haven't seen Peter in a long time. We keep threatening to get together for coffee. And, you know, your lives move in different ways, and sometimes you just never get it together. A good guy. Yeah, he put me in that film. It's a little teeny thing that I did for him.
Yeah, he was promoting his CD 9 Lives last year, and he sent me a signed copy of it and some to give out to people over the air here. And I had done a nice interview with him, and I reached out to him to have him back on. I really enjoyed interviewing him, but, you know, you're your own worst critic. I found there was some places in the interview I got way off topic, and I was like, kicking myself in some places, even though the guy that hooked me up with him said he's heard no complaints about me through anybody, so that's great. And Peter Foldy said he enjoyed the interview, but I always pick out stuff where I could have left this out or left that out. I was like, you know, but I said to him, I said, now that I've listened to your CD, come on, I want to talk about it in detail. And so he's coming on this Friday, but he's also directing a new stage play and whatnot. So he's got some new stuff to talk about. So I was like, great, we'll have another interview with him. I'll have to mention to him that mention.
Yeah, to say hello for me, please.
I will. Yeah, but Tryst was Barbara Carrera and David Warner, and of course Nurse Ratchet, Ratchet, Louis
Oh gosh,
Fletcher.
I don't even remember the film.
I've never seen it. I just was looking at your credits, like he did a film with Peter Foldy. I was like, cool, you know.
I think I did. I think I played a doctor or an intern or some such thing. You know.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then last credit I got listed here is the new Pledge.
The newest Pledge.
Okay,
right.
The newest Pledge.
Yeah. That was a film that was done by graduates, I want to say, from Chapman University, and it got picked up by Lionsgate and distributed.
Okay.
And the rest, as they say, is history.
Yeah, Jason Mewes was in that, of course, and Mindy Sterling, Kevin Nash, the wrestler.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So you've done a lot of television, and I must ask, because we can't go through all your television, but do you have like a top three favorite television pieces of television that you've done?
Oh my goodness. I think that I loved working on it was a daytime soap of sorts called Superior Court. I think I did 3 seasons of Superior Court. It was a half-hour courtroom drama, and I think I enjoyed that experience a lot. And what else? Having just done Grease Live was really a lot of fun. What else? I did an episode of a short-lived series called Chicken Soup for the Soul.
Okay.
It was based on the books, and worked with Jane Brooks and the director John Putch, and I think that too was one of my favorite pieces. Okay. So I mean, there's so many I can't keep them all straight in my head, but I think of all of them not. Well, also, you know what else? I should say this too. Playing Professor Tinkerputt with Barney the dinosaur. We did a show called, an NBC primetime special called Bedtime with Barney, Imagination Island. We shot in Texas, and that had to be also one of the highlights for me, one that I enjoyed so very much.
You know, Steve Joyner connected me with you, and he was my first interview this year, and I think he added me on Facebook because I had interviewed an actress he was familiar with, and so I kind of reached out to him to hear his story, and he connected me with all these people, and he sent me a little video of you, a commercial where you were selling I don't know whether it was Mork and Mindy toys.
It was a Mork doll. I don't even remember shooting that. I just saw this about 2 weeks ago. I had it on my Facebook page too. I have no recollection of shooting that commercial. That's weird. When something like that happens. You know.
Well, Steve had mentioned to me that you were affiliated or close to Don Rickles, who we had just recently lost. Do you want to talk about that? Yeah,
Don was starred in a series called CPO Sharky.
Okay.
And years ago, it was 1976 when I moved out here, I had always suggested that I believed that I shouldn't come west unless I had a job. And that most people, coming out on speculation, that's rolling the dice. But I had done a pilot the year before that, directed by the late Jerry Paris, who directed every episode of Happy Days. He was in the movie Marty. He had been in the Untouchables, the original Untouchables. And he said, even though the pilot hasn't sold, I did a pilot called Best Friends. It was created by Alan Sachs, who created Welcome Back, Kotter.
Okay.
That John had starred in. And he said, Jerry Paris said, you'll work out here. Come, you can live with me and my family, and till you get yourself on your feet. But you'll work out here. Well, I moved out, lock, stock, and barrel, based on that. And a week and a half after I got out here, I went on my first audition, and that was to replace a character in the pilot of CPO Sharky that had been picked up for series, and I got it.
Wow.
First job I had out here was that first year of CPO Sharky, and that's working with Don. It was amazing. But then got written out of the series. But had that not happened, I wouldn't have been able to do Grease.
Oh.
Everything happens for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. We got fairly close, and through the years, Don and I have stayed in touch, as have my fellow players in CPO Sharky. We've all stayed in touch with each other and with Don, and we just went up to see him. I guess it was last year. We saw him perform at the Orleans Hotel in Vegas, and it was the last time that we actually all saw him. And we were able to go backstage and hang with him. And they took some film of us going back to greet him, which I believe was as a featurette in the second season of CPO Sharky on that disc that was just released, I believe. Though I'm not in that second season, I am on that featurette.
Okay.
And yeah, it was a great loss. I mean, look, he was 90 years old. He lived an amazing life, a full, rich, amazing life. Nevertheless, it's still a loss. He's at the end of an era. He's put the closing chapter on the end of an era, which was the era that introduced us to the Rat Pack. And I think that Jerry Lewis and Shirley MacLaine are the only two left that were on the periphery of that Rat Pack group.
Oh, wow.
And, just, again, a major loss. And a terrific man, Don Rickles.
And he was Mr. Potato Head.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Yeah, that was a loss. I was just wondering, how did you come to know Steve Joyner, since he's the one that hooked this up?
He got in touch with me, I think, through Eddie.
Oh, okay.
And it was just recently, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, and we became friends on Facebook, and we talked, and he wanted to interview me, and we did a live on-camera interview a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
So that's how I know him.
Yeah, well, Steve's been very good to me, and I've never met him, but
Really
but
nice
he's
guy.
oh yeah, but he sent a lot of people my way. You're my 119th interview I've done since April of 2015. So
My goodness.
yeah, I can't believe if somebody said to me 5 years ago I'm going to be talking to somebody from Greece, I'd be like, don't pull my leg. And as many times as I've seen that film, now every time I'm watching it, it's like I talk to Doody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I talk to Doody occasionally myself. But when you talk to yourself, you meet a better class of people that way.
You know what? That's was that a quote by Rodney Dangerfield say that, or what?
It may have been. I've stolen it from somewhere.
I'm trying to think. Oh, I forget who said it. Might have been Rodney, but I'm not sure. One of those comedians had said that. Better class of people, or it was Woody Allen, one of them. Anyway, all these years. What are your thoughts over Grease still being the word, so to speak?
I feel blessed that it still, as I mentioned earlier in the interview, that it still appeals to generation after generation. Again, I believe because of the story, the boy meets girl story,
mm-hmm.
and the talent of the folks that you see on the screen, off the screen, all the creatives, the music, the dance. It just telling that story in the way that it was told continues to have wide appeal, and I don't know that that's the right answer. That's the one that I feel best explains why it continues to have success, commercial success year after year after year, and ultimately artistic success year after year after year, generation after generation. So I'm thankful and blessed.
Now, like me, have you ever attended like any of the midnight screenings or anything like that for it?
We've gone to the sing-alongs and such. Yeah, we've done those things, and we've had questions and answers afterwards. We've signed autographs and such. So yeah, we through the years we've participated in those sorts of things.
Yeah. I think Grease, like I said, fantastic movie. And what an honor it is, Barry, to have you come on here today and talk about this film and give some of your time graciously to come on this show. Have you ever been out this way? I'm from New Brunswick, Canada. Have you ever been out this part of Canada?
Now, so where is New Brunswick in relation to Toronto?
They're an hour behind us. I'd say we're closest to Nova Scotia.
So are you Eastern or Western Canada?
Eastern, and we're actually Atlantic Canada.
Okay. Well, again, as I mentioned earlier, I was married to a girl from Newmarket, so I've spent a lot of time up in that area.
Okay.
Toronto specifically. I've been to Montreal, and just in and around that area. Beautiful country, absolutely gorgeous country, but never been by you.
Well, I always ask people if to know where we are. I always say the closest we got to celebrities are the Trailer Park Boys. Have you heard of them?
I've not.
They've done like 11 or 12 seasons. They're on Netflix, but Ivan Reitman produced their first of 3 movies.
Ah, I see.
Yeah.
I know who that is.
Yep. People know who he, but people who don't know who they are know who he is, so they know his quality when he's got his name attached. But yeah, but no, we're in that part of the world that nobody seems to know where we are. I bet you Trump don't know where we are.
He doesn't know much about where anything is, quite honestly. Oh, was that my out loud voice?
Oh, well, there's so many people the firing an agreement, and including people in Canada. So.
There you go.
I don't know. It's where entertainment hits politics, and I don't know. People got to stop clashing the two, because then you're into a situation where it's reality, and you got to live with it.
Yeah, and that's it. We just have to live with it until maybe we don't have the pleasure and good fortune to live at all, should we continue down this path that we seem to be on, and we just have to pray and hope for the best.
Well, there's lots of place for people to move here in Canada. I heard that some of you are jumping ship here.
I guess that's always been the case with any administration.
Yeah, well, when Bernie Sanders was gone, like whenever he was outed, I was like looking at the states, like, you guys painted yourself in a corner. It's like, who do you choose?
I guess it was a toughie for some. I would have been happy with either one of them.
Yeah.
Either
Oh well.
Hillary or Bernie. I was. I don't know. Well, that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, well, we will get into that. But anyway, it's such an honor, Barry, to have you come on the show. And
thank you, Greg.
And like I said, if you're talking to any of the other cast members, feel free to send them my way if they want an interview that's undemanding and yeah. Well, they're more than welcome to come on here.
Well, thank you for that invitation. I will put it out to them. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I would love to have.
It's been a pleasure talking with you.
But before you go,
pardon me?
I was going to say, before you go, I got to get you to do a plug for my show.
Sure, absolutely. What would you like me to say?
Well, just state your name and that you were Doody in Greece, and just say you're listening to Python's Paradise with Greg Gilbert in New Brunswick, Canada.
Down.
Yeah, you're going to have to write that down.
Paradise.
With Greg Gilbert out of New Brunswick, Canada.
New Brunswick, Canada. Okay.
Yeah. Y'all ready?
Okay, I'm ready to go. You ready?
I'm ready.
Here we go. Hey, this is Barry Pearl. You're listening to Python's Paradise with Greg Gilbert out of New Brunswick, Canada. And remember, folks, Grease is the word.